This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good yawning this morning, and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. You forgive me, I just sneak in a little Junkanoo music this morning. My producer yesterday, he didn't play me no Junkanoo music, and I deserve it. He said, if you ain't been out to Junkanoo, miss, I don't know if you deserve to hear the sweet Junkanoo music this morning. And I wonder if that should be a rule. If you don't make it to Bay, maybe you can't play. Maybe you can't hear it. Maybe the only place you can experience the best show on earth is in the Bahamas on Boxing Day and New Year's Day. I wouldn't be mad. I would know how to prepare my year. It is Thursday, the 28th of December, 2023, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. We are continuing our 2023 year in review discussion. I have Mr. Nuri joining me this morning. Good morning, Mr. Nuri.
Good yawning this morning.
Let me do a little housekeeping, and then we're going to get straight to the list. Sand Dollar on the Clock giveaway is back. We're giving away sand dollars again every week. 6 listeners can win 30 digital Bahamian dollars if they get the correct answer and have a digital wallet. When you call in, give the producer your name and cell number and wallet provider. Include wallet provider and custom name in texts. Download a digital wallet right now, because every Tuesday and Thursday you can be a winner. The new year, 2024, is almost here. Sand Dollar Holiday Rebates return. Sand Dollar Holiday Rebates is here. Get up to $100 back this holiday season when you spend Sand Dollars, the digital Bahamian dollar, at selected merchants. If you're in Nassau, you can present your Sand Dollar enabled digital wallet and receipts to Team Sand Dollar at the Sand Dollar Rebate booth located inside Omni at the mall at Marathon. Each receipt must have a total of $50 or more. Additional rules and restrictions may apply. Visit sanddollar.bs/merchant list for a list of merchants. Good morning again, Mr. Nuri.
Good morning again. I'm here just going through the obituaries, making sure I'm not there.
I appreciate that.
No, I'm not there. I'm looking. My name is not there.
I may have to practice that. Mm-hmm. That's a good. In fact, I talked recently, Mr. Nuri, what I want to do over the New Year's holiday is I want to create a notable deaths list for the Bahamas so that we can remember those who have passed during 2023. I'm not sure if any particular media house or publication produces that list locally. I know last week we read from a compilation of international lists. I think we should do that for the Bahamas.
Yeah, I see the Honorable Bradley Crawley died. That's a notable person.
Yes.
That we need to take note of and remember.
And in yesterday's news, we got news that the former MP died. I think, is it Floyd Watkins?
Yeah.
Died as well.
Yes.
We know that Alma Adams, longtime diplomat, passed away this year. And we know that Audrey Ingram Roberts, longtime friend, married Bahamian. Mm-hmm. I like that should be a category. Married Bahamian children.
I like that. Married Bahamian.
Lived and worked and loved in the Bahamas. Contributed heavily to national development, policy development, social development, advocacy development, community development. And this is something that we should be doing for ourselves, right? This is one of the signs of a matured society. Mr. Nuri, You want to start with Bahamian of the Year or top story of the year?
I have my own top story. I want to hash out, but I'll let you lead, and I shall follow you. I shall follow you.
All right, so let's start with top story of the year. I added to the list from yesterday. Yesterday, my top story of the year was a year of rain. A year of rain. I think we've experienced a solid year of rain, abnormally high compared to last year and years before. I think that a year of rain has impacted us greatly, and I wonder if we are observing, watching, and documenting and assessing, right? Evaluating. I think a year of rain has impacted us detrimentally economically.
Do we have a department that does that, or a college that does that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the Meteorological Office, has any units or resources invested to focus on this type of analysis. I'm not sure if there's a partnership with the Met Office and the University of the Bahamas to analyze the stats, right? And
is there such a thing as a Bahamas almanac?
I don't know. I don't think so. I've never heard of one. Bahamas almanac. It's a great idea, right? I think as a festival person, I know that festivals and vendors, roadside vendors, pop-up vendors have all been detrimentally impacted, not just by a year of rain, but by a lack of preparation for a prolonged rainy season. I know that there's been a detrimental impact on agriculture, but I don't think I've seen any formal policy papers, any statements, any research on that impact. What I do know is that we've had a white fly infestation. It has greatly impacted the pepper production, hot pepper, sweet pepper production.
Yes.
And I think it's due to the heavy winds that accompanied the heavy rains. And we have what they call a dearth, an extreme lack of local peppers and local hot peppers in the market. I'm not even sure if anybody's studied the impact of increased water content in local produce and local fruit. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if the vendors who are adding value to local produce have the time, resources, or capacity to make those assessments and also document them and also share them publicly. But I think a year of rain is definitely on the list. But let's move through it quickly. Top stories of the year. A year of rain, the Golden Jubilee, 50th Independence celebrations. The Bahama Games return. The new national sport was named. NIGARD convicted, Bahamian victims vindicated. Government signs onto pandemic accord, question mark. Abaco PM before the courts. That's where we sort of stopped yesterday.
I'm willing to hash that out for a minute if you want.
Yeah, we can get back to that one. Here's what I added to the list so far. Nassau Cruise Port opens. We can't forget that. That's a huge story.
It's a big story.
This year.
It shall change Bay Street. It's supposed to be the impetus of this renaissance of Bay Street.
Right, to create the momentum to get things going.
There being continuous bulldozing of buildings.
Right.
And now there are empty spaces there.
Right, that need to be filled, right? Nature abhors a vacuum. They have to be filled. Next story on the list, migrant crisis or crisis at immigration, question mark. Number 10 on the list, paternity citizenship ruling. That's a big story this year, and we see...
Has there been any conclusion? Because I remember the Attorney General said that he's working on legislation.
Well, we see in today's paper.
Oh, okay, something in today's paper.
In today's paper, we have a story in today's Guardian, story by Tanika Thompson. PM pledges citizenship bill in 2024.
Always a promise. No, sorry.
Well, now, see, I love that. Is there a difference between a promise and a pledge? PM pledges citizenship bill in 2024.
All I can say is 2024 has 12 months.
And about 455 pledges to be met.
I can see December 31st of 2024, another pledge. It's almost done.
almost done.
Because it's been long enough.
I mean, earlier in this week or last week.
I thought it was going to be done within weeks, within months, and now you had the pledge at the end of the year.
Right. In fact, we got the impression after the Court of Appeal ruling, and when the state said that they were going to take it to the Privy Council, we are actually already working on it, but it would be reckless of us to implement new legislation without following the process through.
That's what we all thought.
We would have presumed that you had 2 folders on the table waiting to be opened.
As if we were competent.
One to respond to a rejection of the state's appeal to the Privy Council, and one to respond to an approval of the state's appeal.
I thought the issue was DNA testing, and which would have made the drafting somewhat easy. I mean, I'm not no lawyer now. I'm sure that drafting takes effort, right? And be learned. But we know what the conclusion is. You just need to draft it. It's like, what is it? The intricacies that they're causing the delay.
Now, I think that's very important. If we know what the intricacies are, then we will understand the nature of the delay, and then we can determine whether the duration of the delay is warranted.
That's if they thought that we need to know such information.
This is the thing that we need to know. This is not one of those things that you think you could relegate to a confidential settlement or clause.
It's already being relegated as a confidential settlement or clause.
Oh, no.
You hear that it's going to be done in 2024. No particular date.
Well,
We assume now December.
in the break, I can try delve into the article and see if a timeline is given. Let's move on to the next story. A lighter story, MLB The Show 23 cover athlete is Marlins Jazz Chisholm. Jazz Chisholm Jr. was selected as the cover top video game coming out of the Major League Baseball. Our Jazz Chisholm was chosen as the show.
One of these days, we need to do like a edu documentary type thing on him growing up, his parents, his lineage.
Yeah.
All of that needs to be done. How did he get to the States?
Absolutely. How he get so far in his career. And let me just say, Jazz Chisholm, even despite the injury to his back, is still performing at a professional level. And what I like most about Jazz is everybody likes Jazz.
Everybody likes Jazz.
I mean, there's a beautiful shot of a little Caucasian kid at the game. He wanted to take his picture with Jazz. That's who he come to get his picture taken with. And Jazz has created that energy among his fans, right? They know that he is affable, he's reachable, he's
approachable.
Approachable, that's the word. All right, another 2 more sports stories. Men's national basketball team advanced in Olympic qualifiers for the first time.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Ever, yeah.
We're excited about that.
Absolutely excited about it.
And see how far we can go with that.
Yeah. See, in my sports story, Kai Jones getting waived from the Charlotte Hornets and leaving the NBA is a big story. But there's still room for Kai to play.
Yes.
Right? And so we hope that Kai has not given up on basketball altogether and may make himself available for the men's basketball team. Another top story, Jonquel Jones makes it to the WNBA Finals.
Yes.
See, they didn't win, but they only lost by a couple points. Way to go, Jonquel Jones. Again, throw it on the list. Housing and homelessness crisis.
That's something we need to hash out and critique the government harshly, But nobody... See, we always give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But if it's a crisis, clearly
I've created this dynamic within the culture of patronage where organizations that rely primarily on the support of the state, whether it's financial support, technical support, whether it's networking support, right? Like the government will connect you with all of the relevant partners that can assist you. Those organizations tend not to want to engage in any type of discussion or discourse that may leave the impression that they are ungrateful for the assistance they're already getting. We have made our civil society actors to feel like beggars.
Yes.
when all they are doing is attempting to negotiate access to national resources for the most vulnerable among us, right? And so the organizations that are best suited to lead this conversation and these types of critique are rendered beholden to the state and don't want to have those types of conversations.
But before we move on, I want to get your opinion, just yes or no thing, and maybe a summary. Is the government addressing the housing crisis at this present time? And I want to see a reason why I asked you that is I wanted to resonate into Bahamian citizenry. Yeah, mine. That government is failing this housing crisis, and we shouldn't give them any kudos at all because they haven't yet even start to address it.
No,
what they're doing now is not addressing the housing crisis at all,
and
it's not even a band-aid.
Right. And juxtaposed to that lack of action, what people are witnessing is a ramp up by the Ministry of Tourism to create more beds for heads. The Ministry of Tourism is actively looking for places for tourists to sleep.
And we see that Bahamians are responding, moving rental units off the market,
right,
in the housing crisis to make it available for foreigners,
for potential tourists.
Yes,
right. That's the second layer of it. That whatever's happening at the state level has encouraged or compelled smaller stakeholders in the tourism industry to do just what you're saying. We're removing inventory that should be available for Bahamians to make it available for potential tourist visitors. Bang. And then on top of that, we have a surge in foreign direct investment projects for residential facilities. Residential facilities that are, displacing Bahamians because they take in up prime residential spaces. And those developments are, clearly and overtly not focused on the average Bahamian. Clearly and overtly not focused on the average Bahamian. B, are displacing Bahamians from historic sites. In particular, Adelaide Pines project becomes Windsor Lakes development. A development where the proponents of the development, the developers, have said clearly, we're going to run a scheme similar to Airbnb out of our project. We're going to enable the residents to do it on their own or as a part of the development's scheme.
I find that there was no commentary from Ministry of Housing regarding that to regulate the Airbnb market. And then we have a foreign direct investor saying, hey, we're going into that market, even though it's not regulated yet. Like, say, how you could be doing that when the government trying to regulate it?
And then why is this taking place immediately next to, butting into, Liberated African Way, which is the marker of a community that was granted to freed slaves?
Watch what would happen to Fox Hill and their development, high-end development.
At the end of Fox Hill Road.
Same thing again.
Absolutely. Housing and homelessness crisis is on the list. Next on the list, mental health crisis and a rise in suicide. I think this is a top story.
There are too many young men and women on the side of the road, spaced out. And we just don't know why. And when I say don't know why, because of proliferation, there is a problem. One or two we used to. When you see 10 and 20 and 30 at one corner, something is wrong.
I want to talk about Mackey Street and Shirley Street intersection.
I want to talk about Lewis Street and the people living underneath the lamp pole at the traffic light. And people and officials, politicians and clergymen driving past him while he sleep on the red light with a blanket.
I want to talk about the man that is often nude, unclothed, on his own behalf, on Market Street by St. Agnes.
Or the nude man who is often naked by Super Value or Nassau Street.
Let's go to the phone line. My list is not complete yet, but the callers are calling in. Let's go to the phone line.
Go ahead.
Good morning, caller. Sorry for the wait.
Pleasant good morning, Mrs. Greene and Mr. Nuri.
Morning, Sparky. How you do?
Now, sometimes I got what we like about you is you're not rude, you don't blaspheme, you don't use obscene language, but you just speak it like it is, and a lot of people don't like you for that. A lot of talk shows don't like it. But anyway, you know the developing scheme that's going on. We are behemoths. We've been living here long enough. We know the answer to the question. Mm-hmm. Our politicians, our lawyers, and our accountants, and our businessmen, they have shares in these companies, and they don't want us to mess with it. They're making money off it as well as the foreign investors. They are in the business as well as the foreign investors. Little Miss Marley and them three-piece corner and choke their collie, they try that. Hey, stop right away. We look through our country, we see the proliferation, and I can say like the Chinese liquor and stores through every little corner, 4 and 5 Chinese behind the people building, and liquor stores right across the road from food from primary schools, which was one time against the law. No liquor store, near no church, near no school. Mm-hmm. Now we see them selling food, clothes, and liquor right next to a church and right across the road on Blue to Yellow Out School. We know how they're getting these special permits and everything. Bahamian lawyers, doctors, and everybody involved. Now, getting to the Junkanoo thing before I go. First of all, a very, very pleasant congratulations to the king, the fellow Wooler, Percy Wooler Francis, and we had the return after 25 years of Sweet Emily, who came down as the princess of Egypt, the king, with the fellow. Mm-hmm. So congratulate to them. And now my disturbing news as a valley boy. Mm-hmm. I don't know how for the day like me, when I listen to all the foreigners being interviewed all over the TVs and everything, all the foreigners that say the Valley Boys, they love it, the Valley Boys got to win. Now we know in our country, in all these different areas, we know majority of the judges and everybody, they are either Valley Boys fans or Saxon fans or One Family fans or Roots or whatever, go down the line. Mm-hmm. We know that's a fact. We can't prove it by no paperwork or no.
Because you're supposed to keep your political affiliation private and to yourself.
Right, all of that. We know there's the Saxons because the former prime minister was a Saxon, and the other former prime minister had the shuffles.
Yeah.
And the new one is a Valley boy. Because he grew up in Roll Avenue in the Valley.
Well, that's why the Valley didn't win, because it would be improper for the Valley to win if Brave Davis is a Valley boy. So,
no, the Valley
I had to hang up the phone. I can tell you why I had to hang up the phone.
Has he been off topic?
No, well, I mean, not that, because I wanted to ask him a question.
And he's going to go off topic again?
No, because I say maybe you shouldn't ask the question, Erin. Sparky, I would really value your contribution this morning. I don't want to get into the political...
You don't remember where he is on the list no more.
We ain't on the list at all.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I wanted to ask something about the Saxons, but I ain't gonna ask it yet.
No, because we talk about the list.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next caller. Let's go to the next caller. Then go back to the list that we forget.
Call back.
Go ahead to the list.
Because I want to know what the Saxons should do if they win that $10,000. Anyway, next on the list.
Got to give it to Volo. But go ahead. Just go to the list.
PM, hospital is in crisis. We will fix it, says Davis, as he highlights the need for action. This was a statement made by, that's actually a headline from January 2023.
Of course it's fixed.
It ain't fixed.
The hospital ain't fixed?
12 months.
Clearly it's not urgent. It's not urgent. But again,
but you know what?
We as Bahamians will say that's our good prime minister, and he's allowed to make promises and pledges. We can work on that in 2024, and by December 24, we'll hear that it soon come for 25.
I get you. Let's go to this next call. Good morning, caller.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Poppy, I think you celebrate your birthday this Monday.
So they keep on saying, but I don't remember being born.
No, happy belated. I think you're the Sagittarius.
Mashallah.
Yeah, I know what that means. Hey,
blessings.
Yes. Okay, respect. All right, Miss Greene, I wanted to say to Mr. Nuri, and I kind of agree with his views, but the Airbnbs, you guys, you all aware that a lot of us Bahamians here locally, we use them, right? Right here in Nassau too for different occasions stuff. I mean, in the past we used to normally have to go in a hotel or a motel or something when the people come from the family island, rather than a motel hotel, they get sometime a good deal on an Airbnb, and some of them have pools too.
Yeah.
So we enjoying them also.
Yeah.
I kind of say, I like the suggestion what some people were saying, right? First, Mr. Nuri, you saying the government have a responsibility? Are you suggesting that the government have a responsibility to do these homes, to build these homes?
No, I'm not saying build homes. No, I'm saying the building of homes is not the answer to our housing crisis. And the idea that the government is still building homes and not addressing our housing crisis is a problem. And
So
we need to
building homes
say,
ain't solved-
we need to
haven't
tell them
solved the
cease and
crisis.
desist. Do not build another house
So,
until
are
they
you
address the housing problem.
Nuri, you saying building homes or building another home, the government building another home ain't helping?
No. Because picture this. You and I from the inner city. I make $250 a week. Minimum wage. So just bring it up to that, right? And to get a house, apartment in Carmichael, it's $1,200 for the rent. You got to double that for first and last. That's $2,400. And then you got to get half of that for security. That's $100 you got to come up with, and you're only making $250.
And it may not have a stove, it may not have a fridge, it
No
may not have a
electricity?
bed. They ain't turned on the electricity yet.
That means we're in a crisis
So,
because
Nuri, are you saying that owning your home or the government building home and you being qualified to get it in these rough times, knowing that you're only making $250 a week, some of us, right? We just do a lot of saving. Are you saying that'll be living beyond your means or something?
I'm saying if you're making $250 a week, you can't afford a low cost home.
Let me hold on, Papa.
Right now, Ms. Greene,
Yeah.
I think the government should, if they don't have responsibility, government, we should help out in some kind of situation, help people to be qualified rather than being homeless or nowhere to stay, or we having this crisis. Help with the situation. You know the number, boys, the web shop owners, like how they build homes and stuff like that. They're more friendly with my new day government. I suggest that they work with the government and build all over the Family Islands and stuff like that. That P&P, public partnership thing, what they talk about.
Yeah.
And they could work with the government to help with this, what I call a crisis. I just want to say this last thing, knowing that the year wrapping up, right? When it comes down to that tree, like 2023 or 2013, they being challenges as a blind person, as a human being. And I keep like being careful and observing, when the tree is never reached. But I could say, in spite of how I feel about that, this year was still a good year. I have a daughter who won the police force. He was promoted. He's very smart. I thank God for that. I had another daughter. I still was alive here on the 18th of November to be able to walk, how you say it, walking on the lane, walking down the aisle.
Good to you.
So I thank God for that.
Yes.
You all enjoy your day. But that suggestion with the number web shop, guys, I suggest they work with the government. And I don't think owning you, and I know you ain't saying it, Nuri, owning your own home ain't living beyond your means in spite of you making $250. I think it should be some kind of way that we help people or society, we come together and help them to be able to own our own home. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely, Papa. In fact, the initial Perry Christie government, I think it is, maybe it came under Ingram. It probably came under Ingram, the affordable housing scheme. That scheme did not lower the cost of the house.
Same price.
The house cost is the same as any other house. What it did was it provided access to people to a loan who couldn't qualify for a loan through the traditional banking system. Right? So the houses don't cost less. You just don't have to make as much money to be able to access the same house with the same terms to pay back.
But the issue is those who are renting can't afford to pay the rent.
Right.
Not even buy a house. They can't afford to pay a rent. So therefore they gotta live in car. You know what it is that you can't even rent a place, a one-room efficiency that is too expensive for you to live in. Something is wrong.
We're not saying the government shouldn't build homes. What we're saying is the government also has to provide an option for those people who don't qualify to own a home because at this point in time, they're not making enough money to be able to meet the criteria for the loan, nor are they making enough money to maintain the home properly. See, that's something the government doesn't talk about because the government doesn't maintain anything. I could say that with certainty. Let's get to this caller, and then we're going to go back to the list. The list is not finished yet. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Erin.
Morning. How you doing?
Hey, cousin. I want to ask you a question before you start, cousin.
Go ahead.
What's the murder count?
A lot.
Nobody knows. You notice that we don't have the number anymore?
It is, I know,
What's the number? They
That's
tell
what
you.
I said a lot.
When I looked at the papers this morning, I thought I saw two different numbers from the
Okay.
Tribune and the Guardian. One paper I thought said 108, and one paper I thought said 106. No, okay. And then we have a quote from the commissioner who says 107. So right now it's
There's
either
3 different numbers.
106, 107, or 108.
That's close enough for me.
But here's my thing. Have we determined yet that we don't report murder count? We report a homicide
Well, homicide count.
Because courts determine whether a homicide is a murder, if it's a manslaughter or whatnot. This is a homicide count.
So that's that's a homicide count they have there.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
But what do they have there?
The commissioner says 107. I think the Tribune
I mean,
article.
the verbiage.
Okay,
But-
from the article, we now need to go back to the table and see how to strategize so we can do some things differently. We are now at 107 at this present time. Last year we finished with 128, so we are still down.
Get me down.
Aaron,
Yes.
you said that wrong. We are not at 107. They say we are at 107.
Yes, ma'am.
If we were to do our own count, and I started doing my own count at the beginning of the year, and then I run out of fingers. But if we start to do our own count, we would realize, like you say, they decide which is which. But you know, and I know, and Mr. Neary, they are much more than that. But I think they're trying to do it for public, like for the outsiders to think we're doing better than we actually are doing, because there was too much murders for it to only be at 107.
Okay. Thank you.
You understand? So, of course, me lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
What's your top story for the year?
Wow, that. Saxon winning.
Why you think that's a problem? I mean, why you think it's the biggest story? Some people say Saxon's supposed to win.
We're supposed to win what? Over
Okay.
City?
Okay. I understand. Yes.
No, man. Saxon's, Saxon's in here. Saxon's in here.
Okay.
But any event, talking about the housing, I feel like they should do these, how do they have it in the projects thing?
Okay.
I think it's
Yes.
called the project.
Yeah.
Where they have these high-rise 2-3-story buildings, and each person, I think they should allow each person, build them at least 2-3 bedrooms in each one, and allow for behemoths who can't own an ordinary house to be able to rent to own in those. And I think that would help with the housing crisis.
Absolutely. Okay. A rent to own.
I definitely buy one. That's where the monies together will be pooled to maintain and take care of the building, because we can't leave it on the government, because government maintenance department does not do maintenance. They
Yeah.
wait till it's crash and burn and then holler out, or the building too far gone, they got to let it go.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cousin.
Thank you much.
Don't want to do the list.
Yeah.
I have 2 I want to throw in.
All right, but let me just finish the list.
Yeah, finish the list.
All right. Let me finish the list. Bain and supporters arrested after protests ahead of CARICOM meetings. It's a top story.
That was interesting.
Let me tell you why it's a top story.
Go ahead. Why is this top story?
Justin Trudeau sent us a whole battleship.
Yes.
He had a whole battleship to watch the Caribbean. The de facto leader of Haiti was at that meeting.
Are they still have the battleship outside of Haiti still? I hear nothing about that.
I'm not. It could still be there. I don't know. You're right. I haven't checked on it. But that was a very big story that hit international news. The meeting in and of itself was a big story. The protests that occurred around the meeting was also a big story. Another story from February: PM receives death threats. Put it on the table. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. I think was the person dismissed, or are they still on bail? Were the charges dismissed?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure, but that was a big story. It should be a big story, and we should always be concerned when threats of death are made towards our state leaders.
Yes.
Another big story: Cool Acres Shanty Town fire. It's a big story.
All the shanty towns always catch fire, man.
Do they always catch fire right after a state action?
Sometimes.
Yes, that's still a big. Whenever it happens, it's a big story, Mr. Nuri.
Yeah.
I won't put it on the list.
I used to catching fire, though.
I mean, it ain't on the top of the list, but it's on the list.
Okay.
And then stories. I start with the last one. Prodigal sons don't make it out of the gate again.
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 I'm concerned with my money, you know.
Yeah.
If I'm invested, like how you say, as a spectator, I'm invested.
Yeah.
This is for the fifth time prodigal son hasn't make it to Bay Street yet.
Yeah.
But he getting seed money.
Yeah.
I concerned.
Yeah.
I just say like concerned.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture raised concern yesterday. That was in yesterday's paper.
At least it's not a fire anymore. Because twice.
I can't believe it burned down twice.
Yeah, I thought it was going to burn down again. It just gone.
It's too rainy. You could get away with that. It's too rainy.
Yeah.
Last story of the year. I think one of the biggest stories of the year. The Honorable Obadiah Wilchcombe passes away unexpectedly.
A sitting member of parliament and a sitting minister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Like I said, that's been decades since something like that happened.
Yeah, and triggers the West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election.
And then by extension, we had a candidate who didn't have a bank account.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You notice I didn't put public disclosures on the list.
I noticed that, but I
that's
think
a
you
part
give up on it.
No, that's a part of the Obadiah story, but I want to be respectful, right? Wilchcombe.
It ain't matter that. It's the prime minister who has a duty bound to let us know what is happening to the disclosure. It's been a whole year, 12 months gone by now, and not a PLP. Say, Mr. Prime Minister, man, you got to address this. Just say something, man, for the sake of the country.
Caller, I'm sorry about that callback, but I shame for the PLP.
I shame for the PLP.
The convention, what surrounded the convention
They just accept anything.
Was shameful enough.
They don't care about the Bahamas.
The language, the engagement, the gutter politics.
No, I call it gutter politics.
No, it's embarrassing.
No, I used to that. That's part of politics.
No, that is.
I am concerned that our prime minister, my prime minister, has made promises to us. Mm-hmm. And the good-minded PLPs in the party who heard the promise and man, we have the best prime minister in the world and are listening. And he ain't saying nothing for the whole 12 months.
Yeah.
How can you let 12 months go by and say, Mr. Prime Minister, at least address us, please?
And then the person who your party suggests designed and created the training program for potential candidates for general elections doesn't know how to fill out a declaration form.
Doesn't know.
Doesn't know how to correct the mistakes on the declaration form. Doesn't know how bank accounts work. But that's the person who I'm just saying that this triggered not just a by-election, but a lot of shame. I shame for the PLP. And I'm shame for the people who purporting that this is regular behavior, that there's nothing wrong with this.
This is acceptable, man.
Let's go to the call. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Erin and Pete and Nuri.
Morning.
Morning. Hey, if you were to go back to the mode of time that the prodigal sons either got disqualified or didn't make it to Bay Street, they need to bury the hatchet. The prodigal son has become like the Titanic. Okay? They have left the harbor. There's no more coming back. I don't know why they bothered to go and take up the seed money. You know, there's something, Erin, you and I used to in English football. When you come the two bottom of the Division 4, you're relegated to the second division. So between the prodigal and music makers, they can't get together now that the music makers have a major sponsor. They need to prove themselves in the B division before they actually step up. In fact, there should be a committee that go around to the shack and find out whether they have the numbers, whether they can meet the criteria for more the costumes and so on they're supposed to have before they actually come to Bay. The prodigal son have held the parade of so many times. And go to the score and just happened yesterday. They said the music makers came either fourth or fifth in some category. Then at the end of it, they said they've been disqualified. So if you're disqualified, you can still give them either fourth or fifth.
Yeah.
They need to get it together. There needs to be some standards in the jungle thing on, But every year they keep on the prodigal son disqualified. They ain't come. Come on, man, Barry, that's the Titanic.
Man, and I love that suggestion. And there's two great suggestions you gave. Maybe they should join up with the music makers to stay in the A group or be relegated to the B group.
Yes.
Work on their craft. See if they can come back up to the A group. I like that idea.
Back up. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
They ain't going to make it to the B group, Okay. They just sing a show up.
Now, Mr. Nuri, we got 11 minutes left. My top story of the year is traffic. I want you to know that I didn't talk about it for a long time. I let it unfold. My top story of the year is traffic. That's affirmed by statements from the superintendent responsible for traffic, Superintendent Davey, and Lockhart, Superintendent Lockhart, all respect due, saying that as of, 2 weeks ago, the traffic count was 8,000 plus in the country as a whole and 6,300 plus on New Providence alone, which means that that's 1,700 plus traffic accidents on the Family Islands. I didn't know we had that many cars on the Family Islands to have that much accidents. When we come back from the break, I can talk about that just a little bit because I think your top story of the year is a great top story.
I might start with that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Even though I have a list of things on my side of the show, but I might start with that.
Well, I think it works really well with what we can talk about in your hour.
Yes.
You'll hear that sweet music. We go into a break, 0.9 FM for fresh news, smart talk all day. We'll be right back.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The Grand Bahama News is available every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian. You can buy your local paper at Freeport Convenience Stores, Western Bakery, De Gregory's Fine Foods, and Bellevue Gifts. Now is the time to reach your Grand Bahama market with affordable packages, including print and digital. Call GB News Sales Representative Kavandre at 822-6717 or message him on WhatsApp for ad rates. Classified ads are now available every Tuesday as well. Keep up with everything Grand Bahamian every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian.
The stars are brightly shining.
Good morning and welcome back to On the Clock with Erin Greene on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. If my producer don't know how to warm my heart, ain't nobody else know. Thank you, producer. It's not just the song, you know. It's the way that Bahamians sing it that makes it magical. I mean, at least to me. Mr. Nuri, last week before last, the officer in charge of road traffic announced that there were 8,000 plus accidents in the country so far for the year. We know that more were added to that list. Earlier in the month, I talked about the traffic fatalities for the year. We are almost at 50, if not exceeded it. If there were 8,000 accidents in the country as a whole, 6,300 plus in New Providence, that means 1,700 plus took place on Family Islands. That's a major problem. Why? Because we don't have the same level of health care infrastructure available to our residents on the Family Island. This is a crisis. But let's get to New Providence and the rest of that story. What the what the superintendent, the Prime Minister of Traffic, said was roughly 50% of the vehicles involved in these accidents are uninsured. If you see me blowing my horn on the road, now you know why. I watch everything on the road, but what I cannot detect is who is insured and who is uninsured, not with certainty. So I blow my horn. I don't want to have to wait until we meet to find out that you are uninsured. Is another concern. There's an increase in SD vehicles, think there's over 6,000 on the road right now if you count the numbers on the plates. But that's just the white plates. I haven't gotten to the yellow plates yet. They say that they're supposed to be revoking the yellow plates and replacing them all with white and green plates. You see no status on that, on the status of that matter. But here's my big concern. We have a number of tourists and foreigners, foreign tourists, now driving on our roads. They are obviously being instructed by people who have no regard for traffic controls and laws. I've seen SD plates with tourists in them reversing, like from Post Hill Street back onto East Street, despite the fact that there's a large commercial vehicle obstructing half of East Street. Tourists on roundabouts just doing the most madness. People driving on the right-hand side of the road, going down one ways, ignoring traffic signs. Most concerning is watching tourists ignore stop signs. Some of them are following their guide, who is also ignoring the stop sign. Some of them are just following Bahamians that are ignoring the stop sign. Now, see, here's where I come in. What happens if an uninsured driver kills a tourist? My tax dollars can pay for it? Of course. I wasn't even in the car. I'm not sure if we understand the proportions that this crisis has reached. Let's go to the caller. Caller, you have 30 seconds. Good morning, caller.
I'm Miss Greene. Since October 4th, I am still driving around in a Nissan minivan without license and being told that they don't have no license plate, so I can't even pay for my car to be licensed. It's insured, it's inspected and everything. October the 4th, count how much months that is, Sparky's still driving around with an unlicensed vehicle. Have a good day.
But and what I want to know is, why can't you pay for the license and have the receipt? The receipt acts as the license. Why is this not right? But he's suggesting that he's been told he can't pay for it, which means he doesn't have it. But if you pay for it, you have it. You present the receipt, and the police say, "Okay, you got it." Another problem. Now, Mr. Nuri, I want to highlight the earlier part of the conversation when I was talking about the homelessness issue in the Mackey Street, Shirley Street area, and you rightly focused us at a more important, right, an area. People living under a lamp pole don't even make sense.
No.
The amount of money the political class has spent and sucked up during the Golden Jubilee Independence celebrations, it does not make sense that people are sleeping under lamp poles. People are being sent by the state to facilities that should be condemned. Bang.
I'm concerned about that. We sending Bahamians to live in condemned houses and say, "Hey, this is what we have for."
And be grateful for it.
Yeah.
But we have a major problem. We have had our superintendent of road traffic tell us that the police are not enforcing the turn left on red traffic controls. I don't know if y'all have seen the de-escalation. Is it the escalation? The devolution. Have you seen the devolution in driving standards? I want to say this to Bahamian drivers. First of all, we have a spatial awareness problem. Sometimes you in your commercial vehicle and you're not aware that you're not in your private vehicle. And you turning right on red on Mackey and Shirley Street. Tour companies do it. Taxis do it. Commercial vehicles, all manner of commercial vehicles with the name of the company right on it, and the drivers seem to not care. Private citizens do it. Red plates do it. What is wrong? We don't even have a turn right on red law. This is a major crisis, and I hope those that are aware understand not just their obligation, but their liability in the matter, because one day somebody with good sense is going to sue everybody. And they're going to use your documented statements. And they're going to go all the way back to the previous administration and attempt to make the then minister, Renwood Wells, liable also for not enunciating the law clearly. These are people's lives we're talking about. See, I focused it on Shirley and Mackey Street because you may not care about Bahamians, but surely you care about that tourist dollar. All right, Mr. Nuri, I will run through the text. Good morning, Erin and Cecil. Sparky spoke of the lack of license before. He said that he was given a letter from road traffic that he presents to the police when he is stopped. Yes, but what's important and what tell Sparky load the van with no license plate with tissue and carry it to the valley. I'm just happy that the valley didn't quit Junkanoo this year. Another text, mashallah, is God has willed it. And is sometimes a response to inshallah, God willing. Or when someone points out an accomplishment, you say to basically say, this accomplishment was not of my power. Thank you very much, texter, for the explanation. Another text, the housing crisis and the poverty and crime crisis all have the same answer. The government should let the decision of the Court of Appeal stand. Children born to a Bahamian are Bahamian at birth, period. Nothing complicated about that. I'm scared of any large-scale complex that government has to maintain. I with you. Man, you all stop talking about Sparky. Sparky, I want to thank you for your contributions this morning. I want you to know I don't cut you off because I tired of hearing you. Sometimes I got to cut the mic because we out of time, and you have clearly expressed something that I could carry on. Thank you very much for that, Sparky. And I hope other people can also see the value of what you and others bring to the public. Mr. C.A. Nuri is ready to get started with Guardian Radio AM. Thank you for joining me on the clock with Erin Greene. Stay tuned, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.
When Christ was born, oh,